All right, today we're going to go through a demonstration on how to properly install a safety switch shield on a disconnect. I'm going to go over the common tools to use to install it, as well as the two sizes of kits that we have to install and how to verify what size you need. First, we're going to start off with the proper PPE. I have FR clothing here to verify that power is off to the disconnect that I'm going to be working on. Some of the tools that I'm going to be using: you have a standard drill. We have a right angle drill, 3/16 bit for the screw holes. We're going to have a Wiggy or a voltmeter to verify power is off, a standard Phillips screwdriver, standard needle nose pliers, a center punch, a long reach Phillips screwdriver, a 3/8 wrench, and my lockout kit. I'm also going to be using either a grease pencil or a Dixon Reach marker to mark my holes. Okay, so we're going to verify that this is the disconnect that we're going to be installing this kit on today. We do recommend a licensed electrician to verify the power is off before you perform this installation. Now we need to identify what feeds this disconnect. So I'm going to turn this disconnect off, and this tells me that crane breaker 20, 22, and 24 is what kills power to this disconnect, which is in this panel right here. So we're going to identify breaker 20, 22, and 24. We're going to shut this breaker off. I'm then going to put my FR clothing on before I open this panel and verify that the power is disconnected from this panel, and then I can perform the installation. Alright, for this demonstration I'm going to be using the voltmeter or Wiggy to verify power is off to this disconnect. Before I open this, I'm going to put my helmet on. You won't be able to hear me while I do this, but I will show you. I'm going to go to a known power supply. In this case, I'm going to use a 120 volt plug to verify that my meter is working. I'm going to test for power in here, and then once I'm done testing for power, I'm going to go back to that known power supply and verify that my meter is still functional, so I can confirm that power is off to this box. Right.
Go.
I'm now going to remove my FR clothing. I've verified that power is off to this entire box via this breaker right here. And now I'll be able to install my lockout kit here on this breaker box. So we verified that power is off to the disconnect that I'm going to be working on. I have my lockout kit for this breaker installed along with my lockout lock and tag, which identifies me as being the person authorized to work on this right now. We have two size kits. We have a large and we have a small kit. The way we verify which kit that we will need to install on his is based on the radius of the arm from the pivot point. So as you can see, if we take a small kit and we put it at the pivot point, it's not going to reach the arm. So this is going to require a big kit. As you can see right here at the pivot point, we set it over the arm. That's the big kit is going to be the kit for this disconnect. So this is the main base plate that we're going to use to install directly to the disconnect. I've held this screw in by my hand just as a reference point for the center mark on the disconnect handle. Again, this is the orientation down. I'm going to go ahead and place this up to the box here to get my center mark, and then we have our mounting holes here and our mounting holes in the bottom. So I need to verify that where I'm going to mount this or drill the holes for my mounting location is not going to make contact with any part of the disconnect inside the box. So I've pre-verified that the rear hole on this plate is going to be drilled somewhere up here, and it's not going to contact this, and the bottom rear hole on the mounting plate is going to actually come inside the box behind this plastic piece and not make contact. This particular box is a little bit more difficult to install. Some of them are going to be easier. This one is going to take a little bit of legwork to figure out which best center orientation hole that you're going to use. These are interchangeable for different boxes, and you may have to move it around to best fit. I brought out two large kits, one to demonstrate how to assemble it and one that is pre-assembled so you can see what it is supposed to look like and how it is supposed to function. I'm going to show you the assembly. This is going to be your first plate, your base plate. This is going to go against the disconnect. We like to look at this arrow as the down. So when it sits against your disconnect, this will be pointed towards the floor. As you can see, you have countersunk holes on the front, you have countersunk holes on the back. These are for assembly. These countersunk holes are your mounting holes into the disconnect. First we're going to grab the screw. As you can see, it countersinks so it sits flush against the disconnect. We're going to put a Teflon washer in between each individual plate so that they move freely. And we're going to finish that off with a nylock style nut. It's important to note that when you tighten this down that you want it snug so the plates do not pivot, but you do not want it too tight so that they bind. So we're going to go ahead and snug this down with our 3/8 wrench and our Phillips screwdriver. Again, too tight, they will bind. Too loose, you don't want your plates to pivot. So we have no pivot on our plates, and as you can see, this is assembled. Now we will start trying to mark center on our box. I'm going to use this as a template to verify the arm action on the box and verify that I have no binding. So I'm going to use the screw that I installed as my center point. Center punch my mark so my drill bit doesn't wander on me. I'm going to pre-drill this top hole first so I have a pivot point to be able to mark the bottom. Alright, I've identified that I need the long set of screws for the spacing between the mounting bracket and the box. These actually are neat little things here. These are going to be essentially your washers that space out the mounting plate from the box, and they clip together just like this, and your screw inserts in the center, and that will give you proper spacing. So you just add as many as you need for spacing on the box. If you don't need them, they tear away. So as you can see, I need another set. So we have the top bolt installed, so our assembly is hanging there right now, and I now need to mark the bottom hole for where I'm going to drill. So I'm going to mark that right there. And now I'm going to have to remove this, drill the back hole, and then I can reinstall it. So we drilled the top bolt, we installed it for a pivot point so we could mark the rear bolt location. We drilled that one and installed it. We came in here and verified that we're not impeding or damaging any internals. We're not making contact with any of the internals, and we are checked for operation. It's not binding. You have access to your lockout hole in the off position. It blocks your lockout hole in the on position, so you cannot install a lock when it's in the on position. So to lock this out, just to show you a display, there's no tag on this so you can see it. My lock's on there. I can't turn it back on. Alright, so the installation of this is complete. We're going to close this disconnect box. We're going to leave it powered off until I remove my lock off the breaker. Remove our lockout off the breaker. We're going to turn the breaker back on, and then we can return this back to service.